It seemed like everything was going great for Penn State. Braeden Davis, Beau Bartlett, and Shayne Van Ness all punched their ticket into the third place bout for their respective weight classes. Then we got to 197 and Josh Barr was forced to injury default, and it looks concerning.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to Penn State Wrestling. Thanks so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. Thank you so much for joining this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. My name is Zach Seyko, and I'm your host of the show. I wanted to start things off with a better way to have this conversation where Penn State was ultimately on the right track, getting all four of the wrestlers into their consolation bronze medal match, and Josh Barr doesn't advance. Josh Barr was forced to injury default against Isaiah Salazar of Minnesota. And we're going to talk about this, what his status means, what's the concern level, what's ultimately going to happen here. 9 wrestlers will compete for either gold or bronze, finisher first, second, or third this evening, starting around 5:30. This is a live show, so let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Be a part of the discussion. So Josh Barr's injury, it is a left leg injury. Now there's different speculation as far as some people are saying that it's a hamstring. Some people are saying that it's a knee injury. From the looks of it, it looks like it is his left knee. And listening to Jeff Byers, the voice of Penn State Wrestling, he made a particular comment about this, that Barr is one of the toughest people that he's known, that one of the toughest people presently in the Penn State mat room. So if Barr cannot go, if Barr cannot compete, if he says that, hey, this is not good, I can't put too much weight on my leg, then that means it is concerning because Barr is as tough as they get. So he ultimately injury defaults. I can't imagine that he's going to wrestle for 5th place this evening. Like I said, those remaining matches begin. The final session of the Big Ten tournament start at 5:30. I can't imagine that Penn State's going to put Josh Barr out there. I do want to try to, have the bright side of this conversation as well, and not just make a declaration that Josh Barr's done for the season, that he's not going to wrestle at NCAAs, because while it does look concerning, a year ago, a little bit of deja vu, because Josh Barr, Carter Starachi and Josh Barr are sparring partners. They're very close in the Penn State mat room. And Josh Barr, when he came in, was essentially Carter Starachi's protege to an extent. And I know now Barr is up to 97, but there are some similar parallels here with, hey, remember, Starachi injured his knee, injured his leg at the end of the regular season, and then had to injury default at Big Tens. And I know there was a little bit of drama associated with it, but he was ultimately ready to go for NCAAs. And it is a testament to the Penn State medical staff, particularly the Penn State wrestling trainer in Dan Monthly, who was able to get Carter Starachi right in time for NCAAs. And then we saw Starachi go on the run that he did and ultimately win his 4th NCAA title. Why this is different this time around. We don't know the severity of the Barr injury. We just know that it looks concerning. It doesn't inspire just kind of seeing everybody report on the injury, people talking about it, Jeff Byers in particular. It just didn't inspire a lot of confidence that, okay, we can at least have a positive outlook on this. I think everybody's bracing for the worst and hoping for the best. But there is light at the end of the tunnel in the fact that Penn State Wrestling's training staff, particularly Dan Monthly, is going to find a way to see if Barr can be ready to go for NCAAs. So that's what the goal is at this point in time. So for Barr, he's in good hands. But what's different from, if you compare it and contrast it to the timeline that Starachi was on versus Barr, March 20th is when the NCAAs begin. That's 10, 11 days away. Starachi was injured at the end of the regular season, so back in later part of February, and then had that full timeline of about 3-4 weeks to get right for NCAAs, which means that Dan Monthly, the trainer, is going to have his work cut out for him himself in making sure that Josh Barr is okay. Again, so when we look at, let's summarize this all together. The injury did not look good. The Josh Barr, as tough as he is, it's a strong indication that if Barr says that he cannot go and needs help off the mat by a coach, then that does not point to a good sign either. That is a negative indicator as well. However, the saving grace in all of this is that Penn State's training staff is one of the best, particularly the lead trainer in Dan Monthly, who helped Carter Starachi get back to as close to 100% as possible for NCAAs. The same thing will be applied here to Josh Barr, but it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, unfortunately, in this situation. And it certainly, I don't want to, move past Josh Barr and say, okay, what does this look like? Because Josh Barr is a part of the team, and it certainly puts into doubt what Penn State's going to do historically. If Josh Barr is unable to go at 197, that was somebody that was an NCAA title contender. And if he is able to go, and hopefully he is, fortunately he is, but is he going to be the same wrestler? Is he going to be of the same caliber against, because he has the conditioning, he has the stamina. And if you're dealing with a leg injury, that's one of his best assets is going to take a step backward here. But I think even with a leg injury, if Barr is able to go at NCAAs, I still imagine that he'll be an All-America contender, but I would have to take him out of that NCAA title contention. Stephen Buchanan, Jacob Cardenas, AJ Ferrari, it's probably their bracket to lose, and Josh Barr hopefully can go as far as he can. Hopefully he can just compete. I think that's what everyone's most concerned about, is whether or not he will compete, not even at this point of how far he'll actually make it at NCAAs, but to try to project, okay, what is next for Penn State wrestling? They very well could be without a starter going into NCAAs, somebody that was a title contender. If he is able to go, which hopefully he is, and that this injury is not as serious as it looks, and that Dan Monthly and the training staff can get this right beforehand, that Barr, I think, still can be an All-America contender. But what it does ultimately, and Penn State will still win the team title. Penn State still has multiple national title contenders outside of just Josh Barr, but the NCAA records, the points total, the points margin, getting 10 out of 10 All-Americans, even though I think Barr can reach that, it's not as obtainable as a goal as it once was. You needed everybody to be fully healthy or as close to it, and that certainly is going to push Penn State's objectives. It's going to change Penn State's objectives going forward. But first and foremost, just prayers, and hopefully Josh Barr is ready to go and that he's healthy. Now let's recap some of the other results, because Beau Bartlett, Braeden Davis, and Shayne Van Ness did all advance into their third place bouts. They're going to wrestle for bronze. Penn State still has 6 finalists that are going to wrestle for first place. 9 wrestlers are going to be very active this evening, and maybe the best case scenario, Josh Barr hasn't necessarily been ruled out at this time. Maybe he does wrestle his 5th place bout. So let's talk about some of these other results that happened in consolations and project what lies ahead for Penn State through the remainder of the Big Ten tournament. That is coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. And today's show is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast and from coast to coast. Do you need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. So you'll always talk to a real person, no automation. And for trade pros, are you looking for an extra edge? Then try their free Trade Master program that offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it is your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, or electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. That's the letters SH number 5 with 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by WayFair. Your home should reflect your style, and with WayFair, it's easier than ever to make that happen. So whether you're looking for a simple refresh or tackling a big home project, WayFair has everything you need all in one place. WayFair has a huge selection and it makes it easy to find the perfect piece no matter your space, no matter your budget. So from cozy furniture to stylish decor to kitchen essentials to outdoor must-haves, WayFair has it all and at prices that will fit your budget. Now you can find the perfect piece if you're looking for something like a new rug to tie the living room together, and WayFair has so many stylish options at great prices. Easy shopping, easy delivery. The site has made it so simple to compare and contrast styles. Your order will arrive fast with free delivery. It's more than just furniture. You'll be surprised to find everything from storage solutions to patio decor, making it your go-to for all things home. Head over to wayfair.com and find something that's just your style today. That is WAYFAIR.com. That is Wayfair, every style, every home. And remember, this is a live show, so if you have any thoughts, questions, anything that you would like to contribute to the live chat, please do so. Be a part of the conversation. I know that the pressing topic is going to be Josh Barr, so if anybody wants to talk about that still, we absolutely can here on the live show. I am going to move forward into just recapping some of the other consolation bouts and then what to expect for the other wrestlers that competed this afternoon. Beau Bartlett, Braeden Davis, and Shayne Van Ness all won and are all going to move on. So these are the championship bouts. 125, Luke Lillidahl is going to wrestle Caleb Smith of Nebraska. 157, Tyler Kasak's going to wrestle Brandon Cannon of Ohio State. 165, Mitchell Messenbrink will wrestle Mikey Caliendo of Iowa. 174, Levi Haynes will wrestle Lenny Pinto of Nebraska. Carter Starachi will wrestle Max McAnally of Minnesota at 184. And at heavyweight, Greg Kirkfleet will wrestle the Gable Steveson of Minnesota. But Braeden Davis, nice, solid victory. He's used offense all the way through consolations here, and he picked up a 9-7 victory over Braxton Brown of Maryland. Braxton Brown can be an All-American at 133, so this is another win under Braeden Davis's belt that gives me confidence to say that, okay, Braeden Davis is somebody that maybe isn't a national title contender per se, but he is not somebody that should be overlooked, and I don't think he's a fringe All-America contender. At 100% or as close to it as possible, he is definitely one of the 6 top wrestlers at 133. I think there's certainly a gap with the likes of a Lucas Bird or a Drake Ayala. It's really those two, especially with Ryan Crookham not wrestling this postseason because he's out due to injury. But then after that, I mean, Braeden Davis, my expectation was that he finishes third at this Big Ten tournament. He very well could and should do that. He defeated Nick Bazakis 8-5 or 8-6 the last time they met in the regular season when it was that Penn State Ohio State dual meet. So Davis is going to go up against Bazakis for third place. And Davis, if he was able to defeat him at 75-80%, then he should be able to beat him closer to 100%. 141 pounds. Beau Bartlett ends up getting the win against Joseph Oliveri of Rutgers. It was a 4-2 victory, and now Bartlett is going to meet Jesse Mendez once again, just as we all expected, in the third place bout in consolations. So that is where Bartlett and Mendez will go again. If you want to see my full expectations or a little more of an in-depth preview about these bouts, I did talk about how Bartlett and Mendez, my confidence isn't as strong as it would be. It's a coin flip. It's a coin flip at the end of the day. One wrestler's going to make one move because I'm just as surprised as everybody else that Bartlett and Mendez, both of them, are down in consolations here. But these two meet again, and Bartlett has won multiple times. It's not like there is this clear distance between the two of them, so it's a coin flip either way. I think I'm going to side with Jesse Mendez, and I hope that Beau Bartlett proves me wrong in this case. 149, Shayne Van Ness gets a nice solid victory earlier in consolations as well, and he's going to move on to the third place bout where he will meet, as everybody expected, Kyle Parko. It's in consolations. So Van Ness, remember the last time he faced Kyle Parko was a 13-6 decision. It was a nice, solid, convincing victory. He was in control from start to finish. Van Ness has looked a little suspect throughout the Big Ten tournament. It's been somewhat surprising. Now, Kyle Parko got a reality check where he was tech-fooled by Ridge Lovett. anything can happen in these, because if you look over the history of it, Kyle Parko was 3-0 against Ridge Lovett. And Ridge Lovett can't figure this guy out. And then Lovett went on a mission. He made it his life's mission in that moment to make sure that he defeated Kyle Parko and then some. Kyle Parko ultimately responds. He ended up shutting out Dylan D'Amelio 9-0. This is a coin flip. As much as I would like to say, hey, Shayne Van Ness, because of how he defeated Kyle Parko the first time, this is an easy win. That my confidence is through the roof for Van Ness to defeat Kyle Parko again. But anything can happen. Kyle Parko defeated Dylan D'Amelio 9-0 in that consolation semifinal. Van Ness somewhat struggled, and he struggled with Cannon Webster, somebody that he won by major decision against the first time around. So I don't know. Something is off with Van Ness. I don't know if it's just, hey, sometimes you go into the weekend, you're not feeling your best. I don't know if he's dealing with it. Maybe something's just, maybe a muscle sore. I don't know. I can't say anything, but we know that Van Ness is not the same caliber of wrestler that we've seen throughout the regular season when he defeated Kyle Parko the way that he did, or a major decision win against Cannon Webster only to lose to him 4-1 in the Big Ten semifinals. Josh Barr, we know that he injury defaulted against Isaiah Salazar. He could, in theory, wrestle for 5th place until it is confirmed. I don't expect him to. Now, Josh Barr is as tough as nails, so maybe just in the moment, you can't put any pressure on the leg, but then the training staff evaluates you. Dan Monthly gets there, and he says, okay, here's what's what. And then Barr gets, a little extra support, gets a stronger leg brace, and then he could, in theory, wrestle Camden McDaniel of Nebraska. I don't know that he will. I don't even know that he should. I think the focus should be on NCAAs. What is the point of aggravating it? Well, what about seeding? What about, at the end of the day, Penn State really doesn't care where it's seeded. Remember, Carter Starachi was the number 9 seed a year ago. So in Josh Barr's case, I don't think they're really concerned about where he's placed in the bracket, just as long as he's able to wrestle at NCAAs. So in terms of just precaution, I don't expect Barr to go unless he's absolutely okay and that it was just in the moment. In the moment, he wasn't able to stand on it, but go from there. I do see that we have some comments, so thank you so much. Zach, I love Beau, but I always feel like he doesn't have that Carter killer attitude. Well, we know that, so, I mean, I don't know how many, not a lot of wrestlers in general. Every wrestler has a different profile, a different personality to extent. Now, don't get me wrong, Carter Starachi certainly kind of sets the precedent as far as, yes, that as you've described, that killer mentality, that killer attitude. Beau Bartlett is very selective. Every time I speak to him, he's as confident, as nuanced as you could expect him to be. I don't sense that, oh, Bartlett's, not sure of himself, or he has an identity issue as a wrestler. But he is different. He relies on his defense. He's very defensive oriented. Against weaker competition, can he major them or get a win by a tech fall? Absolutely. But in Bartlett's case, he is going to lean on his defense. He needs to get the takedown early. Do not mess around. Do not go through I would be ultimate. Here's what Bartlett should do. And, I'm not afraid to admit that I've never wrestled in my life, but just seeing based on the results, right? And I wish I wrestled back in the day in high school or whatever have you. I wish I wrestled. But when I look at the results that Bartlett has put together, he is at his best when he is aggressive in the first period. And I know you can't just go flying around against Jesse Mendez because you have to be particular with your shot attempts. However, the times that you have defeated Jesse Mendez, you get that early takedown. And we see it again against Vance Vombauer of Minnesota. That first takedown, that early takedown, and then you're playing from behind. You're wrestling from behind. It is an uphill battle against this elite competition. So for Bartlett, I say let it fly against Jesse Mendez, because you're not going to get the number 1 seed now at NCAAs. So if you lose, what ultimately does that change? Okay, so you lose to Jesse Mendez, so you go from a 3 seed to a 4 seed in theory. Does that really make that much of a difference? Maybe try something new where instead of just throwing some collar ties, you just feel each other out for the entire first period. Why not, the way that Mitchell Messenbrink operates, find that front leg and just go after it and see what happens. Just try it. Just put it in the film session and see what goes from there. I think this might give AJ a better chance of coming into the tournament next week. Are we talking about AJ Ferrari? I have always said that Beau is a soft diplomatic. Again, Beau is, again, a defensive wrestler. Is he overly aggressive? No, he is very selective with his shot attempts. That's just my overall assessment of him. He was undefeated, right? It's very difficult to defeat Beau Bartlett as it is. He lost 5-3 to Von Bauer. It's not like he was majored, tech fall, but you do have to be as sharp as can be when you get to this point at the Big Ten tournament and NCAAs. If Bartlett shows up like he did last night and today, Mendez will win by major decision this time. He's looked flat all weekend, no urgency whatsoever. That is a bold take. I don't think he loses by anything more. If he's going to lose, it's going to be another, probably along the lines of 4-2, 5-3. Bartlett, because Bartlett's difficult to score on. Bartlett doesn't give up a lot of points. So the magic number to win this match is 4, 5, or 6 points. It's not going to be, nobody's getting to double digits because both Bartlett and Mendez are very tough to score against each other, just in general. So interesting that we're talking a lot about Beau Bartlett and concerns about that. I'm eager to see, again, it's another learning experience at the end of the day. It's why for Braeden Davis, I kind of wished that he was wrestling Dylan Shaver in a rematch instead of Nick Bazakis, because now that you've lost that one to Shaver, you have to find a way to bounce back from that. So what did you learn from that moment? I'm not trying to imply that Nick Bazakis isn't a challenge, but it seems like that one with Dylan Shaver gives you a little more. So it's kind of the same thing. Jesse Mendez is this giant, is this theoretical giant in Beau Bartlett's path to get to an NCAA title. I know Vance Von Bauer and Brock Hardy and Andrew Alirez all exist. However, Jesse Mendez seems to be that hypothetical giant that Beau Bartlett would need to slay in this instance. So let's talk about these finals matches again. Just recap them in a nutshell. I have a full preview for anybody that wants to check them out. But on the other side of this break, we'll get some more comments, wrap up the live show talking about the championship bouts a little more in depth here on Locked On Nittany Lions. And today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. And right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets. That's right, $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That is $200. That is 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's going to cut down the nets. You can pick your favorites. So if you've got your eye on a few underdog teams this year, FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. You stay in the action with the tournament games happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on. It's easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use, easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So just visit FanDuel.com for your chance at $200 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com, and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, so remember, the final session, the placements for first and third place take place tonight, this evening. I hope everybody remembered to change their clocks. 5:30 Eastern time, where Penn State is most likely going to have, in theory, they could have all 10 if Josh Barr is okay. I would not chance it, so I don't necessarily expect him to wrestle. But Luke Lillidahl is going to take on Caleb Smith of Nebraska, and we're going to go a little more rapid fire just to analyze them a little bit. Like I said, I have a little more of an in-depth preview for all of them. But Lillidahl against Caleb Smith, I like Lillidahl's chances. I think he's a true freshman champion at 125. I think he defeats Caleb Smith again. He won that first time around 4-2 with that last second takedown in that Penn State-Nebraska dual meet. Lillidahl is, if he's going to go up against Matt Ramos and win the way he did, 12-4 by major decision, if Lillidahl's able to defeat Caleb Smith in the regular season, I can't make an argument that, he'll absolutely major. If he can major Matt Ramos, he'll major Caleb Smith. Right? I don't think so, but I think he does win convincingly. maybe something along the lines of a 10-4. So it's close to the 8 points, but I don't think it's exactly a major decision. I think that's fair that Lillidahl gets 3 takedowns. Maybe Smith gets 1 takedown ultimately. Lillidahl's just letting it fly. That's the name of his game. It's offense, offense, offense. So you might as well play into that rather than getting into these defensive struggles. Let it fly if you're Luke Lillidahl. Lightning storm in Evanston, Illinois. 157, Tyler Kasak against Brandon Cannon. Hey, Cannon's had a strong performance at Big Tens. Of all the Ohio State wrestlers to advance to their respective championship, Brandon Cannon was not on my bingo card, but he knocked off the number 1 seed in Ethan Miller. He ultimately defeated Tommy Askey of Minnesota, and now he's in Tyler Kasak pinned Antrell Taylor. I think Kasak is an NCAA title favorite at 157. I think he and Meyer Shapiro were all alone, but even still, I would give the edge to Kasak here. So give me Kasak over Cannon. Just a decisive victory. It's not out of the question. A 9-3. I'm still learning more and more about Brandon Cannon since he is fairly new to an extent at 157. Since again, bless his soul, Sammy Sasso with everything that he's dealt with. So Brandon Cannon has stepped in since Sammy Sasso is unable to compete, and he's now retired after an illustrious career at Ohio State. Pennsylvania native too, as well. So Kasak versus Cannon. I think better days are still ahead for Cannon. Kasak is a perennial contender right here, right now. Give me Kasak in the Big Ten title. 165, Mitchell Messenbrink against Mikey Caliendo. We know how this one ends. We know that Messenbrink's going to win. Points are going to fly. A lot of points across the board. I don't know that Messenbrink's going to tech fall Caliendo like he has in the past. I don't even know that he it's a major decision. I think because Caliendo's going to have this attitude of, well, I got nothing to lose. I've lost to Messenbrink so many times now. I might as well try something different. So I still like Messenbrink to win convincingly, but maybe not along the lines of a double-digit victory or a tech fall as well. Still convincing, still in control, but Caliendo's gotten so much better. 174, Levi Haynes versus Lenny Pinto. This one is more of a toss-up than maybe people realize. I think Lenny Pinto is wrestling a lot better than I've given him credit for here. Now, Haynes did defeat him decisively in that Penn State-Nebraska dual meet, but I view this one as it's a toss-up. I still slightly lean Levi Haynes here. I still think Haynes is in that category with Keegan O'Toole and Dean Hamady as the title contenders at 174, but Pinto's not far behind in that second tier. So is Pinto closing the gap, or is he still clear behind in that second tier? We'll see. Haynes by decision. I would not be surprised if this comes down to sudden victory. I really would not be. 184, I like Carter Starachi against Max McAnally, certainly because of the experience factor, and Starachi just is the perennial national title contender, but Max McAnally is here. If it wasn't for Kakaisen, if it wasn't for Starachi, McAnally would win an NCAA title this season. I think it's those two, and then McAnally's in a tier by himself, and then it's everybody else at 184. We'll see how close McAnally makes it. Would not surprise me if this goes to sudden victory. Would not surprise me if the difference is a couple of points here. Starachi beats McAnally solely on experience and some better defense. McAnally just does not lose. He does not lose. He's lost one wrestling match in one folk style wrestling match in, I think, 4 or 5 years. So the guy does not know how to lose. And that match came in high school. He's undefeated in his collegiate career. Greg Kirkfleet and Gable Steveson. Heavyweight, the crash course we've all been waiting for. At Greg Kirkfleet, I think this one is closer than maybe people don't realize that even 2-3 years ago, when Steveson and Kirkfleet were wrestling, the margins were 9-4, 8-3, about give or take 4 or 5 points. I think Kirkfleet has closed the gap against Steveson because Steveson went off and did WWE. He went into the NFL, and in that time, over time, Kirkfleet was able to compound and get up to, or at least closer to the level of Steveson. Now, Steveson is just so gifted. This is like riding a bike, returning to this all world-class level that he is when it comes to folk-style wrestling in general, because he did win an Olympic gold. Remember, he won a freestyle Olympic gold at heavyweight. So Kirkfleet, can he win? Yes. It is not impossible, but there's a certain way to do it. And if anybody can defeat Stevenson in college, it's going to be Kirkfleet. And the way to do it is to win 2-1 or 3-2. You're going to have to get the riding time. You're going to have to get an escape point. That's the way to do it. Because I don't know that Kirkfleet's going to get a takedown against Stevenson. Never say never, but it almost feels impossible to say it that way. So do I still think Stevenson wins this time around? Yes, I do. But I would not be surprised if this one's 4-2 and it really goes down to the final seconds and Kirkfleet's maybe in on a shot and then Stevenson's able to fend him off and win that way. So I do think this one's going to be closer than what we've seen throughout history. And then remember those third place bouts. Braeden Davis against Nick Bozakis of Ohio State. Beau Bartlett against Jesse Mendez of Ohio State. Shayne Van Ness against Kyle Parko of Iowa. Josh Barr could wrestle until he's confirmed out. I imagine he injury defaults, but Nebraska's Camden McDaniel is waiting for him in that 5th place bout. See, the comments section is active again, so that's where we will finish up the show. So talking about Mendez again, yes, he got beat too. Out of Brock Hardy and Vance Von Bauer. I should have put more stock into them because throughout the week I said, hey, Vance Von Bauer and Brock Hardy are really good, but Beau Bartlett and Jesse Mendez are too. So therefore they're not going to upset them. But I certainly have my doubts. I just couldn't fully buy in, and I wish I did. Last night's version of Luke wins NCAAs. Yes. Luke Lillidahl is an NCAA title contender. For anybody that hasn't realized it now, he's proven it against everybody. You need to see it to believe it, right? But in order to project these things, Luke Lillidahl has always been an NCAA title contender. He just hasn't fully shown it. And now he has against Matt Ramos. So Lillidahl, if he wins against Caleb Smith, there's a case for him to be the number 1 seed at 125 going into NCAAs. Kind of funny that 141, the Big Ten 3rd place match is a rematch of last year's NCAA finals. Yes. And that's why everybody likes and appreciates wrestling. That's why, because as clear and cut and dry as the answer seems to be, or the projected matchups, anything can happen. And we're seeing it happen at Big Tens in the conference tournament, which is kind of a good reminder that, okay, at NCAAs, nobody's really safe in this case. And the same thing with Shayne Van Ness and Kyle Parko, that they seem to be on a crash course. Well, they were on that crash course, but in consolations. I said he would take 4th, but now he's last. I'm not sure who we're referring to. Beau Bartlett can beat anyone and lose to anyone. Braeden Davis is an issue. How is Lenny Pinto a toss-up with Levi Haines? Well, because Lenny Pinto is talented, I think Lenny Pinto is kind of the same mindset that Caliendo is, where I don't have much to lose. Nobody's picking me, as we see with that comment. Nobody's picking me against Levi Haines. Do I think Levi Haines wins? Yes. But would I be surprised if that goes down to the wire or goes into sudden victory? Absolutely not. So I'll eat my words if that one's a major decision or Levi Haines is in control from start to finish. I was disrespecting Lenny Pinto throughout this Big Ten tournament, and he just continues to impress now that I get to see him more and more. What happened to Barr? So Josh Barr injured his leg. Some people are saying it's a hamstring. It does look like it's a knee injury. He was helped off the mat, I think, by Coach Cunningham. It does not look good. I would say there is more pessimism than there is optimism that he'll be ready for NCAAs, but there is still a chance. It just didn't sound good between Jeff Byers on the broadcast and the way that everybody was reporting on it. And then watching it in real time, the eye test, it is concerning there. So that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking out this show. Thank you so much. If you're not already, become an everydayer. Subscribe to Locked On Nittany Lions on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. And we'll be live once again to recap those finals later on this evening. So subscribe. Remember, so you don't miss any of these shows, all right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.